Good afternoon and happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Foul Territory. I am pinch hitting for Scott Braun alongside, of course, AJ, Pierzynski, Erik, Kratz. Good to see you guys. Anthony, John, what are you doing this weekend? What's coming up?
I'm actually home for a weekend, which is this is the last weekend I'm home for, maybe end of April that I at least know of on my calendar, because I got one of them big ass calendars that just sits over my desk. And this is the last weekend I will be home until, I think in the Aprils.
My goodness. In the Aprils, plural.
You write in your calendar? You write it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You don't have screens, TVs are like $3 right now. Like you don't have like a screen where you can like screen share and just always have it as your calendar. You're so old school.
Gigantic calendar. And then I also, you know what else I do, which I don't know if this is strange. I have like a little calendar I carry in my backpack whenever. And I also write down where I'm going to be. And if I go on a trip, when I pack, I write down the outfits that I'm going to wear. So I have them. So I make sure.
You do not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know why I do that too? Because then I'll forget them sometimes if I don't put them in there. So I have to put like a little check mark by it that I actually packed them in my suitcase. Oh, trust me.
Do you stick to it? Do you stick to what you're going
to? It depends. It depends. Like a lot of times what ends up. No, a lot of times what happens is that we were just in New York, right? Well, I had like jeans and a nicer pullover, quarter zip, whatever you want to call it on, and a giant jacket. And then we went to dinner on Friday night, and I just wore the same thing because it was nice enough to go to dinner and I didn't feel like I needed to change, but I had a nice outfit, right? So no, do I always stick to it? No, but I do try my best to stick to it. And I also pack according to the days. So like the newer clothes that I need earlier are higher in my suitcase. And then as I go down.
This is unbelievable. I never would have expected this type of answer when I asked you what you were doing this weekend.
And if you want to add one more to it, when I get to a hotel, I have to unpack right away.
Same.
I unpack right away. All my stuff is out hanging.
Yep.
I always carry a steamer with me. I'm kind of crazy, but
that's intense.
I travel enough to where I've got it down kind of to a science now.
Erik, are you even close to this?
Zero.
No.
Kyle Higashioka, who was just on yesterday, he and I were roommates in the bushes, and we carried it over to the big leagues. I should have asked him yesterday. We used to see who could figure out who could take one carry-on suitcase for the entire season. Every road trip. And this was back when we would have 8 to 9 day minor league road trips. Like you get a carry on. If you don't fit it in there, you're cooked.
Hopefully you had a lot of places to do laundry. If you're just at least the undies.
Wow. Throw your undies right on the loop. You get a fresh new pair hanging in your locker the next day.
Oh, I forgot. Everybody does everything for you guys. All right. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. There you have it. All right. Okay. Oh, I'm so coddled. I haven't had to do my own laundry in 38 years. All right. Time
to my underwear.
Charge the mound, boys. Let's do this.
He's charging the mound.
All right, some interesting news out of Minnesota. The Twins announced that they have mutually agreed to part ways with President of Baseball and Business Operations, Derek Falvey. Now, this is interesting because he is one of the only front office execs, AJ, that actually had both of the jobs in terms of baseball operations as well as business. Aaron Gleeman adding, making a change of this magnitude 2 weeks before the start of spring training is legitimately shocking and certainly wouldn't have been planned by the Twins. Also of note, just 1 week ago, the Twins held their annual media luncheon at which Derek Falvey was the lead speaker. This is peculiar, AJ, because the timing is interesting. They continue to clean house in Minnesota. What do you make of it?
I mean, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know why they do this now. Falvey, they just promoted to the president of business ops, and it seemed like he was in charge, but then they had the sale, and then they switched from Joe to Tom Pohlad. Maybe there's a minority owner that had some thoughts and wants to get a little more power in the organization, and Derek Falvey didn't agree with that. So they just said, hey, it's better if we part ways. But the timing of this is crazy. Plus, they're kind of trying to win, they said. So you fire your president of you mutually part ways with your president of baseball ops right before spring training starts when you're trying to, as they say, try to compete this year. I don't know what's happening in Minnesota, but it's strange. Definitely strange times there.
Erik, do you buy the term mutually?
Yeah, I buy it. But I think it's definitely going to be on one side or the other. Mutually can be 80-20. You're both in relationships. You get it. Like sometimes you mutually agree, even though the one side doesn't agree. But what doesn't line up for me is this guy's been successful with not a lot. He's been successful through the fact that ownership was going to spend after they added Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa for this organization was that guy that was going to bring other guys there. You already had Buxton. You already had Royce Lewis. You already had a bullpen that could just bang, 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 next guy up. They were finding value in bullpens everywhere, in their bullpen everywhere. But the crazy part, too, is now you have a new, and they might even change his title. Who knows? You know, the titles are really just so that other people can move up underneath that person and still get paid at this new title. But whatever it is, they have a new manager. Derek Shelton was hired, I assume, by Derek Falvey. And Tom Pohlad was making a lot of phone calls. Maybe he accidentally called somebody and they called and were like, hey, if you get Derek Falvey out of here, I'll re-up my season tickets. And they're like, oh, Derek Falvey? Yeah, all right, beat it. See ya. One more season ticket holder.
I mean, I hope that he's worth more than one season ticket holder. They named him team president in March of 2025, AJ. The move ended a tenure that began when Falvey was named the team's head of baseball operations in 2016. So he's been with the club a long time. Now, Jeremy Zoll's going to continue to lead the team's baseball side, while executive chair Tom Pohlad will handle oversight of the business side on an interim basis. As far as dysfunctional organizations are concerned, AJ, where do the Twins rank for you right now?
What are they doing? I'm not going to rank them because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it's just more of like, what are they doing? I don't understand. If you want to compete, you don't mutually part ways with your president of baseball ops before spring training when you basically have done nothing. And you made Derek Falvey trade away 10 of the players on your team last year. Derek Falvey did not want to trade away 10 players last year, including Carlos Correa. Now, the better question is, if you're Byron Buxton, do you call the Pohlad family and say, what is happening, right? What is happening to our organization right now? I know he said he didn't want to trade, but now how do you trade Joe Ryan possibly, Pablo Lopez, Byron Buxton, Royce Lewis, all these guys? Like, I know they have some players coming. Oh, wow. This is wow. It's just surprise. It's surprising, the timing. And I thought Derek Falvey, again, they just promoted him to the business and baseball. So now for him to leave is, I can't wait to talk to Aaron Gleeman later on, because it's going to be fascinating to get insight on this.
Trades like this, trades like last year when they trade 10 guys, that is not baseball decisions. They were not sitting there going, I think this is the best baseball decision for our future. Those were business decisions. It's essentially 99% come out that, yeah, they wanted to reduce some of the debt that they had. And then they brought on some more ownership, and that ownership influxed some cash that they were able to pay down this debt and got rid of those players. Those are business decisions. That stuff is happening from the top. That is from ownership. And who is taking care of the business stuff now?
Pohlad.
It's Tom Pohlad. It's Tom Pohlad, the guy who was telling Derek Falvey, who was in the business and baseball operations. He wasn't just selling season tickets. Like there was a mutual. Other teams do this. Dave Dombrowski has the same role with the Phillies. Like there's GMs underneath there. It's not a baseball decision. These are business decisions. And now you're giving the new ownership more business decision leeway. Hey, look, I could be completely wrong, but just check out the salaries, check out how many moves they've already made, and go, okay, most likely to go if somebody else is making the bit, or if somebody new is in the business decision role, They have to. Like, why would they not get rid of some players that get rid of some money off the books?
Does this make it more likely then, AJ, that Joe Ryan will get moved?
I don't know. By the way, I said Aaron Gleeman. I meant Dan Hayes is coming on later. I apologize to both Aaron Gleeman and Dan Hayes. But I don't know. How does it make it more likely? I guess they still have a GM. It all comes down to what the poll ads want. Poll ads want them to dump more money. Then they say trade Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez, and try to get Byron Buxton to waive his no trade. If they don't want to save any money, then they don't do anything and they try to compete with the team they had, which we saw last year wasn't very good. So I don't think it changes anything. It really, as long as the Pohlad family owns this team, it comes down to what they say. And that's why, listen, when I played there forever, we had Terry Ryan was our GM. We had Jim Rance in charge of the minor leagues. And we had, kind of the same people, Tom Kelly to Ron Gardenhire, right? And they kind of knew what they wanted. They kind of knew what's kind of player. And then they went to Falvey and Thad Levine. And they kind of got it going there for a little bit. And then all of a sudden they got to a point where they were pretty good. 2022, let's not forget, they're pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, oh, we're going to cut the payroll $30 million, cut the payroll more. And the team continues to go down and the fans have stopped showing up. It all comes down to the poll ads, man. Like if the poll ads don't want to do anything, they don't have to because they own their team. And guess what? It's their decision and they're right as the owners.
And Derek Falvey helped this team to 4 out of the 9 years that he was in his role to the playoffs. A team that, he kind of helped build what is there. What is what was there last year, what there now, he had to tear that down. Like, you brought guys up from the minor leagues. You realized you had to be, a little just weary of where you're making those changes or where you're adding salary. And he did a great job. I think they found a gold mine of pitching in a place where, hey, you know what? We're not going to be able to pay for pitching. Hey, we're going to add Luis Castillo to the mix. Luis Castillo is going to give us this at, I forget what salaries he was locked into before. I'm sorry, not Luis Castillo. Lopez. Jorge Lopez. Pablo Lopez. I got them all wrong. But he was willing to trade. He was willing to trade from some of that to give themselves those number ones, to give themselves guys to add in with the youth. They went out and got Correa. Like, he wasn't afraid to make these moves. And to me, I hope Twins fans think of his tenure as successful. It started out with Paul Molitor. I think it was time for him to, new GM comes in, makes the change, goes to Rocco Baldelli. And I think they were successful. Besides the 2024 collapse at the end of the year, I think it was a successful run, and I don't think anything Falvey did deserve for a mutual departure.
That's why I don't think it's really mutual. I think it's, like you were saying, 80-20. I mean, this is a guy that's done a lot of good for the organization. And if they're trying to cut costs, there's more ways to do it than just trading away good players. They can get rid of a guy that's probably making, $4 or $5 million. Much more to come on this topic, guys. As AJ mentioned, Dan Hayes is going to be joining us from The Athletic in a little bit. But for now, let's go in the weeds. All right, love doing this because we have two catchers on the show. Of course, AJ and Erik both know a little bit about pitch framing, if you will. Things have changed, of course, since they were behind the dish. But by StatCast numbers, let's talk about the best and worst teams, you guys, in the three main catching metrics. That's obviously blocking, throwing, and framing. What do you think about this? Blocking 12 runs, throwing 19 runs, framing 45 runs. In terms of what they're talking about, Mike Petriello is saying this. Now, he thinks that kind of is underselling. It also shows you that the spread has declined as teams all value framing. In 2018, the spread between best to worst was 64 runs. 2012, that's pre-StatCast era, it was 76 runs. In 2008, so 20-something years ago, it was 99 runs. What do you make of these numbers, Erik? We'll start with you.
Well, I know for a fact, you can look at my batting average in my career, this is what kept me around. I didn't know I was a good framer. I thought I was good, but I didn't know there was a metric for it. I didn't know it was a thing. So I finished 2013, got traded to the Blue Jays, And that was the first time I saw anything. First time I saw any kind of numbers. And fast forward to 2020, they kept, oh, wow, your numbers are so amazing. The Yankees were like, oh, we were back on your numbers back in like 2012. There was a presentation done for the Yankees, one of the years, and I don't know which one it was, that the year that Mike Trout won the MVP. The Mike Trout, prime Mike Trout MVP. And the argument was, framing is so important that Hank Conger, the same Hank Conger that everybody remembers, was more valuable based on a per run, per pitch basis than Mike Trout.
That's asinine. I love Conger, but that is asinine. There's no way that Hank Conger, who, by the way, the Twins also got rid of when they got rid of Rocco Baldelli, there's no way that Hank Conger has more value. I love the dude. I went to his wedding, but there's no way that Hank Conger has more value in this game than Mike Trout. AJ, what say you?
You see my face right now, right?
So sometimes the metrics are BS.
I also want to say this. Let's look at the teams that are at the top. Okay, Giants, Patrick Bailey is elite. The Blue Jays have strike throwers. The Yankees have veteran pitchers, right? The Tigers have mostly strike throwers. The Guardians have really good pitching and strike throwers. Okay, guess what? They're going to get more strikes called. Now, that's not a knock on the catchers because Dingler won the Gold Glove. Austin Wells, Alejandro Kirk, Patrick Bailey's really good. Bo Naylor's gotten so much better. Now, if we go to the teams at the bottom, Nationals, White Sox, Rays, Angels. Guess what they didn't have a whole lot of? Veteran, great strike-throwing pitchers. Okay? So, the White Sox had 2 rookie catch this year, so the umpires aren't giving them the benefit of the doubt. The Nationals, Keibert Ruiz isn't known for his catching, and then they had the other young guys, right? So, I just take this all with a grain of salt because the way I look at it is Jonathan Lucroy one year was the #1 framing catcher in baseball. He didn't change a thing. The next year, he was the worst. So how does it go from one to the other? To me, it all goes on who your pitchers are, who you line up with umpires. Because let's say you get one umpire that calls more. Listen, I love Doug Eddings to death. He has a bigger strike zone than some other guys do. Okay? So you're going to get more strikes called, right? It's so subjective. Who's doing the rating on this, right? Who's doing this? To me, this is one of those things that is cool, and I'm sure it's gotten better over the years since it first started. I just don't know until someone can tell me how it's quantified. I look at it and say, great, because for like Kratz and some other people, it made them some money and it got them in great position to have a great career. But then I look at it and I go, okay, well, if my guy is getting 1-2 more strikes a game, but they're also missing more balls in the dirt and having more pass balls because they're trying to frame them, is it really worth it? I don't know. But hey, kudos to these teams.
And there's arguments on both sides. The biggest thing, if we put the last picture up there was the lowest teams, you saw the Dodgers and Phillies up there.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Nobody would say Will Smith and JT Realmuto, who, by the way, JT Realmuto had been a top 10 receiver. Or nobody would say they're bad receivers. Did the Dodgers get a downgrade when they got rid of Austin Barnes? Austin Barnes was one of the best receivers. Just visually, you watch it and you're like, that dude catches the snot out of the ball. He beats the ball to the spot. I don't care if you're on 1 knee, 2 knees. Austin Barnes would catch from 2 feet. And the way he moved his hands, you can tell he is a good receiver. What is the predominant pitch that a lot of the guys on the Dodgers and Phillies, who were both playoff teams, 2 of the best teams in the National League, if not the 2 best. What pitch did a lot of those guys start throwing? We just talked about Roki yesterday. The split. I promise you, you try to frame a split, you're going to be chasing it to the backstop. You catch a splitter because it's a swing and miss pitch, and you're going to lose pitches. You're going to lose balls that are at the bottom of the zone, side of the strike zone, because they are nasty, elite pitches that are tough to pick up. So there's different things that go into this, and there is value in framing. But Kyle Higashioka said it yesterday. If the eye test does not match the numbers, it's not sustainable. But also, if you're selling out to one style of catching, one idea that every pitch that's framed is worth 0.12 runs and every pass ball is only worth 0.22 runs, but a pass ball with a runner on third is still equal to a pass ball with a runner on first going to second, then you're only looking at it as the numbers. And people will argue it till they're blue in the face. The idea is correct. The execution of it is too broad stroke, and everybody needs to do this. And I think that is doing a disservice to some catchers, but it's also doing a disservice to the value of players and certain plays in the game of baseball.
I, for one, hope Austin Barnes gets on with the New York Mets. He is a good receiver. He's a good dude. He's caught a lot of very important innings, particularly in the postseason. AJ, what does this do if they implement robo-umps? How does this whole framing conversation change?
I don't think it frames because you're not going to get somebody going like this every pitch, right? Mm-hmm. And most of the time, if anything, it would fool your pitcher sometimes. And the umpires are still going to call the strikes that they see. And if it's close, I don't know that it changes that much. Here's the one thing I'll say. I talked to umpires, and I've told this on this show, that have been in the ABS system in AAA. And they said that the really good catchers actually box balls that are strikes to make the hitter think it's a ball. They tap, they lose their challenge. How much will it change? I don't know. We're going to have to see. That's going to be one of the fascinating things about 2026. Starting in spring training, into the early season, how teams use the ABS and how it affects this, pitch framing metric that is so popular right now. I think it's great. I think catchers have always been undervalued. I think that this is a thing that was always looked upon. I remember when I first came up, they're like, just be quiet, don't move the ball. Umpires would tell you, hey, you snatched that back, that's automatically a ball. And now guys are going like catching balls that are a pitch out, and they're like, well, it's a strike. Every pitch they do it. So things have changed. I'm for the change. It's just going to be fascinating to see how it moves on to ABS.
Erik, how do you think it's changed in terms of framing or the style or the thought process of it because of the way that it seems like guys are trying to catch differently now? The one leg out type of thing. It doesn't matter if there's a runner on third, balls on the dirt, you're screwed. This whole thing that started kind of with the Twins, the Yankees a little bit about just setting up behind the plate differently and different style of catching. Has that changed the framing at all?
Oh, I mean, that is all about the framing. And now they'll argue because they have a lot of numbers that they're able to block more pitches. And the true argument is they're able to block the 99-mile-an-hour yard dart that's in front of them, that's in front of home plate. That's directly in front of them, and because they're already down there and they just put their glove down and they're able to block it. You're not moving as well side to side. But so you can't necessarily, you bring one argument up and somebody will argue the other part. But his knee was bugging him, so he went down and found out that the framing metrics were boosting him up because he was able to get the bottom of the strike zone, and he wasn't able to throw anybody out because the guys on his team were all 1-6 to 1-7. So he's like, why am I going to try to take away one piece of value if I can't throw anybody out? I might as well just go all in. And that's my issue with the framing being so overblown in value. Even though I made money in my career and stayed around because of it, is that value is there, but it's not as linear as what analytics says it is. And not everybody should be on a knee, because the idea is 48% of the pitches are 52% of the pitches are in the bottom half of the strike zone. Well, my argument was, and one of the areas that I was the best at for me was the top half of the strike zone. I'm like, well, that's 48% of the pitches. Like, it's 50-50. And if you have a lot of guys that throw high balls at the top of the strike zone, shouldn't you be getting those too? So it's really how you manipulate the numbers. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you just got to get the job done.
I think it also depends too on who's evaluating, what the statistical metrics are that they're evaluating by. I mean, can't you manipulate, as you were saying, the numbers, AJ? Can't you manipulate it to service any sort of stat you're trying to prove?
Yes. Yes. Again, yes. It's like war, right? I always laugh at war because there's more than one war, and no one can tell you how they figure out war, but everyone uses it as an evaluation tool and this and that. But if you can't even agree on how to calculate it, then how do you know who's this or that, which one's right? So yes, you can manipulate anything. I know this. When I used to watch a guy catch, and I still watch guys, you're like, oh, he's pretty good. He can steal pitches. Like I watch Patrick Bailey. I'm like, that dude can steal some pitches, right? And you know who's good and who's not good. And the numbers usually bear that out. I don't know that we need this, but it's another tool to help people evaluate catchers and put a value on them.
All right, Erik, let me ask you this. How does this affect guys getting jobs? How does this affect guys coming up? When AJ said stealing pitches, I swear to God, I thought he said stealing bitches, but that's neither here nor there. How does this affect guys coming up trying to get jobs and maybe coming up in the minor leagues, trying to manipulate their style of their game to service what it is that's going to get them to the big league level?
Yeah, stealing bitches, that's AJ's rap album that's coming out soon. It's a single. It's going to be just on cassette. But it's so effective. You see it in college. And there is a value to it. There's always been a value to it. It is not something that needs to be diminished in the sense of, oh, don't even worry about it. It's something that you always needed to improve. Ernie Witt was my catching coach. He was always teaching us, you have to beat the ball to the spot. You can't be late. You can't be like AJ had over 2,000 career hits. Okay. I had like 2 to 100 hits in my career. The value will always be in the offense, but what kind of value do you get for your pitcher in the framing metric? And how do you equate that when you have a guy in the minor leagues that's doing it? That's really what's holding up Ethan Salas right now. Ethan Salas, ever since he was 16, the videos started coming out of him, the way he's able to receive the ball. It's smooth. It's unbelievable. If he doesn't hit over 190 and stay healthy, he's never going to make the big leagues. So as much as guys work on framing and they do it off machines instead of off of live pitchers, which is not completely applicable, like there's more ways to get to where they need to go than everybody go on a knee. On one knee to catch at all times. I think that takes away some of the athleticism. I think a guy like JT Realmuto wasn't in that category, wasn't with the Twins, but has been and may still be the most athletic catcher in the game. He could have played short in his prime. He could have played short in the big leagues for a weekend. And when you put him on a knee, you're putting him and my chewed up piece of bubblegum body in the same spot if you're going down to one knee all the time when you're receiving. Like, it's not one size fits all. You have to get the strikes, but not everybody needs to get them the same way.
AJ, what do you think about manager calls in terms of pitch calling from the dugout?
No, because here's my thing I have with this, and you watch it in college and high school and all this. You're not back there. And unless you're back there and you can actually see what is happening, what your pitcher has, what movement, hitters make adjustments, no, that's a no. But the Marlins are going to do it. The Marlins are going to try it. And if it works, the Marlins, then other teams will try it too. But for me, that's a no. But that's just my opinion because as a former catcher, I took pride in calling a game and getting guys through it, not to look over to the dugout and say, hey, you're not back here. You don't know what the guy has that day. No, it's just a no, but teams are going to do it, and what nothing we can do about it.
I think it'll cap teams. I think there's some success to it, but I think when you're talking about teams that are fringe playoff teams, and we talk about the Marlins because they're doing it right now, but I'm sure other organizations want to do it. I heard the year when the Red Sox won in 2018, the front office said I think they had the best ERA in baseball. And the front office said, if you guys had listened to us and really followed the pitch calling plan, you would have had a half a run less ERA. And it's like, okay, on paper, you can say that. On paper, you can say this is what the pitch that needs to be called. But what I'm watching today, my guy don't have his cutter. My guy doesn't have his curveball. He can't land it for a strike. But if you go down the paper and you go curveball, you're going to be cooked in that game. And I think those are the games on the fringes. There's so many things on the fringes right now in the big leagues, from clubhouse personnel to environment in your clubhouse, to travel, to sleep, small, tiny little things that could help you win one extra game. That's where I feel like the pitch calling from the dugout gets in the way. At my high school team, I would much rather have a freshman call the games and we talk about it, learn about it, see what's happening in the game. And when it comes to a big moment, they already seen it. They've seen it in action. I'm super close to the home plate when I'm coaching high school, and I don't see the same thing. I don't see the ball spinning. I can read swings, but you're just not doing that when you're looking at a paper the whole time and saying, splitter, that's what we need to throw.
Yeah, you're also going to impede the pitcher's progress if you're not in the situation when you're in the dugout. All right, a lot more to come here on Foul Territory. Again, Dan Hayes is going to join us. Kenley Jansen is going to join us as well. Ken Rosenthal still to come. But let's talk a little bit about the Dodgers. I know I get it. It's not just because I'm on the show, but we had a great conversation yesterday with Andrew Friedman. Let's get into what he said, guys. That's what he said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Andrew Friedman, president of baseball operations for the Los Angeles Dodgers, was on Dodgers territory yesterday with myself and Katie Wu and Clint Pasillas, talking a lot of different things, guys. And we'll start with the WBC. He obviously has a lot of players that are going to be participating in the WBC, most notably Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, if you will, in terms of the Team Japan. So talking about workload there, guys, and Andrew Friedman was saying, of course, we're going to have to discuss workload. Let's hear exactly what he had to say about this particular situation.
Yamamoto's on there. We knew Shohei was going to play, no Roki. What were obviously you guys do play a decision here, the kind of talking points you went through, and then what are the pitching plans for Yamamoto and Ohtani?
Yeah, from our standpoint, it's easy to be supportive of the WBC as a fan of baseball, as someone who loves the game and is looking for it to continue to grow and get better. It's easy to love the WBC. Now, in my specific role, it's a little bit harder, but have to kind of set that aside. And so our conversations, we understand the immense pride that these guys feel for representing their country and that competition, and that Ohtani Trout, that just Japan US game was one of the more fun, because obviously when the Dodgers are playing, I would not describe my experience as fun ever. So watching that game was like, I felt like a fan, like there was a real level of enjoyment. So I get it. And the reason it is so enjoyable is because of how much pride these guys have and how badly they want to win for their country. And you could feel it. It's palpable. So talking to these guys, it's just about partnering up with them and understanding where they're at, what their thoughts are, how we do it in the best way. We have designs of playing through October. So what does that look like in February, March, and just how to balance all of it. But really good conversations with all those guys. And, at the end of the day, we are supportive.
AJ, it's a good problem to have when you have talented players that can play for the WBC and want to. But as the manager of a team trying to three-peat, I would imagine it gives you some pause trying to make sure that these guys are managing their workload, but also have the opportunity to play. What do you make of it? If you were managing the Dodgers, how would you feel?
If they want to play, you let them play. It's a risk you have to take, and and I love the WBC, and I understand the risks of it. But before forget the WBC. Can we talk about Katie Wu being in the Orlando airport and her doing it from the Orlando airport when she could have come over here?
She went to umpiring school.
I know. Oh, she told me. She sent me a picture with her and Hunter Wendelstedt.
Maybe she wasn't invited to your home to do the show.
But she could have come over here and done it. I mean, because that Nathan's hot dog in the car, there's a Carvel ice cream right there too. I got to ask her if she hit the Carvel ice cream that was also next to her, and then if she bought some beauty products from the Kylie Jenner vending machine that was at her back. So I mean, not that I've ever taken that walk down that Delta hallway a billion times or know it very well, but I think the Dodgers have a big problem. This means you have too many good players. I think who's in it? Will Smith, Yamamoto, Shohei, obviously. I mean, Mookie's not playing because he's having a baby. Freddie said no this year.
Well, Freddie would have been
Yeah, but they've actually kind of caught a break because a few of them aren't playing. So I don't know. Is Pages playing? I don't know if Pages is playing. I don't think Tucker's going to play, right? Is Teo playing this year? I haven't heard about Teo. He's another one. So, and none of the relievers is Diaz probably not playing, right?
Ooh.
I would imagine they wouldn't let him do that after what happened the last time.
So I'm just thinking maybe the Dodgers actually caught a break and a lot of their guys aren't playing this year. So that's actually a good thing. The ones that are going are doing it and they're going to have a great time. But the Dodgers caught a break if I'm looking at it from Andrew Friedman saying, man, no Tucker, no Mookie, no Tanner Scott. Didn't Trinan pitch last time? No Diaz. Wow, we actually got lucky this year.
We'll see. He also talked a little bit, you guys, about Roki Sasaki and the move going forward with them. Brandon Gomes had said that they see him as a starter, although right now he only has 2 pitches. And Dave Roberts said, you know what, he needs to figure out a third. Andrew Friedman addressing that yesterday as well. Would you be willing to have him perhaps start the season in AAA to continue to work on that third pitch? Or what do you see his role in the immediate future?
Yeah, I mean, I think last year, all in all, was a really good experience for him. You know, he was able to dominate in the NPB with those 2 pitches. And frankly, I think he could here as well with being able to execute his pitches at a higher level. Last year, just delivery was out of whack. Velocity was down a little bit. Ability to execute was off a little bit. So it's either, you know, adding that third pitch or elevating the pitch making ability. And we've seen that from him in the past. You know, we talked about this last year. We see this a lot with guys who have some kind of soft tissue injury, whether it's a hamstring and the way that affects how they get off the mound, which then has downstream effects to their delivery, or an oblique where you're looking to rotate and create it in a different way because subconsciously you're protecting that oblique. We see it all the time. And obviously that happened with Roki when he was in Japan, and then his last year in Japan. You know, we don't necessarily have the same insights that we have when a guy's our player or playing in the major leagues. And so that coupled with, it takes time to build trust. And we weren't looking to try to force that. We're playing the long game with Roki, but I feel like we got to a place of a lot more trust, and that comes from, you know, building a relationship. And so we couldn't be more bullish on what he's capable of. He is an extremely talented pitching prospect, and you know, sometimes it takes those guys a little bit of time to put things together, but I will bet on him having a really long and really good major league career.
Erik, does Roki Sasaki begin the season in the Dodgers starting rotation, in the Dodgers pen, or at AAA?
I would say if I ranked it, I would say the least chance in the pen. Some injuries would have to happen. You heard it. They see him as a, you know, Brandon Gomes said they see him as a starter. Then I would say he starts in the rotation, and the most likely is he starts in AAA. And that's okay. We used to joke about some dude, you know, you go, we're going to the game and you see Ronald Acuna when he first gets called up, and somebody just walks by and they're like, yeah, I played against this guy when he was at the University of Tennessee. And like some people will like, what, Acuna went to Tennessee? Like, what? Like, Roki Sasaki is 2 years out of college right now. If he were born in America and played here, Guys that are 2 years out of college still have development that they need to go through. And it is okay. There's nothing, it does not mean time to give up on them. Definitely doesn't mean it's time to give up on them as a starter. And the Dodgers have, besides the fact that they probably had a pre-deal already done, the Dodgers have such great pitching development stuff. That's why Roki was really looking at the Blue Jays. He knew he needed to improve, and he wanted to go to a team that had the ability to help guys like him improve. You saw it last year. He wasn't throwing strikes. He got injured. He came back, and his velocity wasn't there. He shortened his leg kick. It was a quicker down the slope, kind of more like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and his velocity ticked back up. So there's adjustments that he can make, and AAA is a great place for him to make those adjustments. They don't need him in the starting rotation. If they need him, because they're going to run 6 guys out there. We just heard Blake Snell's, taking it slow. So they're going to need 6 guys. So maybe he still is in the rotation. But you don't want another season. If he has to learn a third pitch, you don't want another season of him throwing 10% sliders to right-handers and left-handers. You want him to be able to develop that pitch, and the best place to develop it, he might have bad results because of the fact that AAA hitters just aren't as good as big league hitters, but it gives him a chance to trust it, learn it. He's athletic. They have the right support around him. He'll do great. He'll learn it if that is truly what they want him to do.
And Andrew Friedman is pretty big on what Emmett Sheehan can do in the back end of the Dodgers rotation, as well as wanting to see what River Ryan and Gavin Stone can contribute on a more consistent basis as well. Well, you think it's easy being the president of baseball operations for a team trying to win the World Series? Katie Wu asked Andrew Friedman about that, how difficult it was, particularly to watch this year's World Series. Take a listen.
As you're watching the World Series go on, whether it was Game 3, whether it was Game 6 or Game 7, is there any moment that stood out during that World Series, which I think we can all say one of the best fall classics of all time, that stood out to like, this isn't normal, or this is really cool, just as a baseball mind that you were witnessing?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very intense series. Everyone keeps talking about how great it was, and I'm sure it was for a lot of people. There were times where I had to like step back and remember to breathe, like to take breaths. Something I'm not very proud of. I may or may not have spiked a bar stool in that Game 3. And it's because of the range of emotions. Will Smith hits a ball to center that in my mind is definitely a homer. And Varsho goes back and catches it. And so I'm like, the excitement of the homer to the catch next inning, and I might have accidentally let the Barstool slip. But, Game 7, I've always said that the way I am wired, I cannot handle extra innings of Game 7 of the World Series. I don't know how people do it. I could not handle it. And it turns out you just do it. Definitely wasn't mentally prepared for it. You're just in it, and it's a surreal feeling. And just the amount of times I've said that, and then to be in it was pretty surreal.
Look at that. He's a fan, just like us. He has to remember to breathe, Erik, just like us.
Believe me, I watched a lot of playoff games without having to do anything that I could do about it, just sitting on the bench. You're way, way more nervous sitting there knowing you can't do anything than when you're in the game. When you're in the game, you're like, I got this. Like, this is awesome. But when you're watching, and so I'm sure it's for the front office, just like it is the fans.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. Like, you're trying to handle all of the emotion. It's got to be, what's worse, you guys playing in a game or watching your kids play in a game when you have nothing that you can do about it?
What do you mean worse?
It's the same.
It's the same.
No, you probably care for your kids because they're your family a little bit more. But if you're watching a game and you're invested as much as Andrew Friedman's invested in his team, I mean, I'm never going to say it's the same, but it's close.
I mean, I'm sure Andrew Friedman sees it as his kids. I'm sure he sees everybody on the roster as his family, as his kids, as like he comes off as somebody that cares that much about those guys. For me, when I watch my kids, the game, I'm totally fine. Like, I'm rarely like, what? But I hurt more for my kids when they don't do well. When something doesn't go their way, I hurt more than I hurt for myself when it didn't go well for me when I was playing.
Yeah, I think that's a natural progression of being a parent. You want your kid to be safe and okay and happy and never have experienced any sort of pain. Before we get to Kenley Jansen, who's kind enough to join us, and he's coming up shortly, we asked Andrew Friedman also. I think Clint Pasillas asked him, if the Dodgers don't three-peat, why? AJ, if the Dodgers don't three-peat, why is that?
They just get hurt. They get hurt and they get beat. That's why. I mean, they get beat. Actually, sorry, they just get beat, and the injuries could be a factor. Guys don't play well. Guys don't hit. They were, again, Alanna, they were this close. I mean, literally this close last year to not winning, right? And they had everybody ready to go. So if they don't three-peat, it's because baseball's hard. They got beat by a team that was hot, or somebody got hurt that they couldn't afford to lose, which I don't know who that would be, Freddie, Shohei, Mookie, whoever that person is, but baseball's hard. And if they don't three-peat, it's because, you know what? Sometimes you just don't win.
Yeah, maybe
Doesn't
Kyle
fall their
Tucker.
way.
All right. Check out the full interview with Clint Pasillas, Katie Wu, and myself on Dodgers Territory YouTube channel. Now let's welcome our special guest, former Dodgers closer, now a guy I believe truly is headed to the Hall of Fame, Kenley Jansen, joining us here. Kenley, we appreciate you taking the time here on Now Pitching. There he is. Flip your thing around, my friend. There we go. Now I get to see you. Good to be with you, Kenley. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate you very much. I want to get your take first before AJ and Erik chime in here. You are so close, my friend, to some pretty incredible numbers that would be very Hall of Fame worthy. What is your case for letting Kenley Jansen get into the Hall of Fame?
I mean, to hear that's unbelievable, to be honest with you. I just play this game that I love, and I play it hard, and I want to help my team. Every team that I play, I want to help them win. And all those things just come, with being successful. So, just hear my name, get titled to that is just give me such a much more, inspiration, and just wanted to just keep grinding in the weight room and be better. So, it's awesome hearing that.
When you're looking for jobs in the offseason or teams are calling, if they said, hey, you're not going to be the closer, is that value? Are you still able to give the same amount of value to a team? I'm not saying you're not going to try as hard. I'm saying, like, your value is in that ninth inning. And I think, maybe you don't agree with me, but I think ninth inning outs are way different than eighth or seventh inning outs. But is your value maximized as the closer for a team and then decided on where you're going if they have a closer or they don't have a closer?
To be honest with you, you got to be also, realistic and see where the game is going and see how teams value, high leverage and just bullpen usage. So, I know that this is happening. And, to me right now is just, be the best I can be. And, all those decisions is, for AJ and the front office to decide on that. For me, I'm just going to make sure I be the best version of myself, and whatever inning they want me to pitch, I can be ready for it. But like you say, pitching the ninth is a whole different animal, and me being doing that so long, it just give you, a different energy level when you pitch in that situation. So it's not like I haven't pitched in the 7 or the 8 before. I did those before I become a closer, and I understand where the game is now.
By the way, I want you pitching in the ninth. So AJ wants you pitching in the ninth. Okay, Kenley? So just so you know that. Speaking of, when you were going through your free agency and your recruiting pitch, did you go to Hinch and Scott Harris and say, hey, if you guys would have had me last year, guys, maybe you beat the Mariners, because I come in and I'll close down that game 5 for you guys because they had a lead and they blew it. Now, later in the game, whatever, stuff happens. But was that part of their pitch to you? It was like, hey, yes, we had Finnegan. He did a nice job, but you're on track for a Hall of Fame career. Man, we put you in that ninth inning. We can take that next step.
Yeah, I definitely. It's funny when you say that, because it was mutual interest a year before, and I thought I'm gonna end up being there a year before, but then everything changed. I signed late. I signed with the Angels. I have my mom issue going on also too. So definitely watching the playoffs last year, and you see that they just was one arm or maybe two away to maybe possibility to play in the World Series, because I think they probably could have matched up really well with the Blue Jays. So, but yeah, watching that team, that's the only team that crushed me last year. I feel like also too, give up 3 homers, never happened in my career, in one inning against them. So, yeah, it's a pretty good team. So I'm excited to be a Tiger, and I can't wait to be to the camp and get to know my teammates and be ready, and hopefully we can get to that same situation again.
Kenley, I played against you when you were catching, and then I also played against you when you were in your prime pitching. Do you look at it? And I always ask superstars this because you are a superstar. Do you wish you could have one talent from when you were in your prime to now and use it the entire season? I ask this because Aroldis Chapman's been a closer as long as you have, maybe just a tick, maybe a few years less than you have, but he is still, his velocity is almost there, and he wishes he still threw 105. Is there one talent or one feeling that you wish you had from when you were in your prime, most dominant Kenley Jansen?
I think I wish I could have the wisdom that I have now, because I feel like now I could be a better version of myself, even that consider not my prime no more. But it's just you understand your body, you listen to your body more, and you pace yourself. And I feel like in the younger days, it's just one work ethic, work hard every day, and that's all I wanted to do. And maybe that's helped me also too in my career, but if I would have, know the game better and pace myself and be in a different pace, I think it would have benefited me a whole lot more. So I could have get not as tired. I get in the World Series in 17 and 18. I feel like, those drag get on in the 17 and 18 World Series.
Kenley, AJ Hinch and I were having a conversation the other day about you, and he said that you've been absolutely incredible this winter, that you've really just said, you know what, as you told us, that you're willing to do anything to help the Tigers win. And that you were so incredible after the bad outing you had against the Tigers. And that's something that says a lot to him, that you're so willing, with the resume that you have, to be able to take the ball at any point, because you didn't have to do that. So what does that say when your manager has that much respect for the way that you're willing to change your role just to be part of something special?
I think it's him changing the culture. I believe, when he first got there with the Tigers, to build a winning culture. And when it comes to a winning culture nowadays, you just understand that the title, you can't hang on titles. So you have to do anything to help your team win. So that's my mindset right now, and that's my goal. And I- my all players' dream is to play in the World Series, and I play in 3 World Series. Finally, break through in 2020, but I want to get back to that feeling again. And I think they have a really good team, really good possibility to get there. And I want to be a part. So I want to be a part to help them win. So that's all I'm thinking about. And if they want me to pitch in the ninth, great. If it's any other situation they want me to pitch, to help the team win is great too. So I'm just gonna be open minded on that. And yes, of course, um, get to 500 is unbelievable, but I didn't plan to get to 500 when I was on my Dodger days. It's just being winning the division every year and being successful got me to so many saves. So of course it will be something awesome to have, but I think more awesome to have is another ring.
Kenley, by the way, we just showed a picture of you at Tiger Stadium. I'm so old I played in old Tiger Stadium. So you were you were there after they had like knocked down half of it. I actually got to play there. I don't wish that upon anybody, because it was that you're taller than I am. you would have had to squat like a catcher in the dugout, because if you were over like 5'8", you hit your head on the dugout.
Yeah.
So God forbid if
Yeah.
something exciting happened and you actually were like, yeah, oh gosh, I'm concussed now. But that's great. I want to know, are you going to bring California love to Detroit? Did you
I
carry
even
that to
think about
Anaheim
it.
with you, or is that just a LA thing?
I think California Love, I think it should be a LA thing, I believe. That song is so, Dodger community, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, this is a great song, and last year I had In the Stone, Earth, Wind, and Fire. So I don't know, man. I even think about any songs yet. So we'll figure
Eminem.
out. Yeah, we'll figure out. We go to Eminem. So we'll figure that out. So definitely.
All right, you have 476 saves. For everybody who's listening, Mo has 652 and Hoffman has 601. You are 4 years behind where Hoffman pitched his last game. Are those numbers, when you look at them, insurmountable in your mind? Or are you like, I think I can do it. I think I can get there? Because 500 is right on the you're right on the cusp. Lee Smith, you're right on the cusp. And I get it, health and everything, and Lord willing, you're able to do that stuff. But do those numbers sound insurmountable, or is it kind of like, I'm going to get there?
I think I can get there. Be honest with you, like me being competitive, put really good, workout in the off seasons and taking care of myself. I think I can get there. Like that's the competitive feeling that I have. So, will I get there? I don't know. It's depends how the understanding that the game changed now. You don't have that old fashioned a lot no more in baseball, and you just gotta go with that also too. But if you ask me truly, yes, of course, I think I can get to 600. But health's gonna play a big role, and being the winning team is gonna play a big role. So. Yes, for sure. If something individually, I think I can get there for sure.
Kenley, I know that you are obviously, as we've talked about it, so close to potentially getting to Cooperstown. And that may not have been your goal when you were growing up in Curacao, trying to get to the big leagues, but you have an opportunity to do something very special. But how do you think your game has changed, or your mindset has changed over the course of, when you started as a catcher to being a potential Hall of Fame pitcher?
It's crazy because everything happens so fast. From being a catcher, struggling with hitting a little bit, knowing that I could have had pretty good at defense as a catcher, but the hitting was always a problem. And for that transition to happen in '09, for me being the baseball classic, throwing Willie Tavares out at third, and Ryan Braun at second, and from there, like Dijon at that time with the Dodgers, the farm director, make that decision. It happened so fast because he told me that, hey, he believed that I could be there in a couple of years, with the arm that I have, and if I develop myself, and he think possibility I can get there, and it happened so fast. In less than a year, I'm in the big leagues, and um, I'm still doing it so far. So, it's a great ride. And, to hear my name up there now is unbelievable. And it's just gave me that motivation to keep going.
Kenley, I have two questions for you. One, as the former catcher that you were, what would you tell yourself as a pitcher when guys are stealing bases off you like they do? Would you be yelling at yourself saying, damn, Kenley, you need to hurry up to give me a chance, or what?
Charlie Hoff told me one thing, and that helped me terrific. And by the way, like, he make me who I am today because he brings such a joy in pitching for me. You can steal second, you can steal third, but you can't steal home. So I feel bad for the catchers, but the confidence that I carry sometimes, it helped me a lot because I'd rather trade base runner for a pitch that I can leave something right down the middle and get crushed. So I'd rather make my best pitch and try to hold the runner, but now you can't hold it no more. So you gotta throw your best pitch all the time in a situation like that, game on the line. So you can try to keep the runner at first and try to be fast, quick move, and then you leave a terrible pitch and it get crushed. So it doesn't do you great either. So so that's why I will always say you can steal second, you can steal third, but try steal home.
And by the way, Charlie Huff was a knuckleballer, so he wasn't teaching you nothing about nothing because you're throwing cutters and he
No.
throws knuckleballs.
Yeah, no, but he bring that joy, man. He bring that joy, that fun. Putting Nolan Ryan pictures on the wall and Roger Clemens, all the great pictures, and learning the delivery, learning how to pitch, and man, I gotta say thanks to him and Franklin Stubbs, the hitting coach at that time in high A. Those guys just keep motivate me, and I am who I am today because of them. They're the one who just started the early version of me.
By the way, Andrew Jones going to the Hall of Fame, Curacao, like yourself. What does that mean to Curaçaoians? Is that what you Curacao?
Yeah,
Is that what you guys?
yeah,
Nailed
yeah.
it. Okay. And the Kingdom of the Netherlands, that there is somebody going from that island into Cooperstown.
That's big, man. I mean, it's the same sensation that what he did in 1996, in the World Series. That's the same feeling that we get now. It's just, for me, it's just get that, you soak that feeling in again. It's like, always growing up a Braves fan before him, big Fred McGriff fan, by the way. And when Andrew got called up, I still, it was crazy. It was crazy watching him get his first hit against the Phillies, I believe, yes. And it's NLCS game against the Cardinals and get to the World Series, hit the 2 homers, in game one. To me, it's just make all of us believe, and that's the feeling that I get now. That now him going to Hall of Fame is just give me that belief now that who knows, maybe I could be a part of that too. So, it's great watching him, man. It just makes me so happy. And one of the greatest, probably, defensively center field that ever done it. Play so shallow and make every play routine. So, yeah, it's a blessing watching him play back in the days. And he set the he paved the way for us, set the stone for us, and now a lot more players from Curacao get to enjoy their dream and playing in such a level in Major League.
Okay, three parts here. First of all, Bam Bam Hensley Mullins, he paved the way. Make sure you don't say it was Andrew because he taught Andrew. He will be pissed at you if he heard you say that.
Bam Bam understand that. Hey, like he was the first one who got there, So, but I think it's iconic. Andrew Jones is just such an iconic man. What he did.
Sure.
So, I'm definitely not gonna I have to thank Bam Bam for all those years that they set baseball clinics. Back then I was little, going to those clinics and see guys like Andrew and more guys from Major League be there, and he helped contribute big time. But Andrew is such an iconic player that make all of us believe. With his sensation that he did, diving catch in right field, and I forgot the name right now of the Braves stadium right now. But yeah, he was great, man. He was great. He's such an iconic player for us in Curacao, and he make us believe.
Turner Field. All right, two-part question.
It wasn't Turner Field. It was Fulton County Stadium. Sorry.
Oh, Fulton County Stadium. So before Turner Field.
Before Turner Field.
Two-part question. Can you confirm that you are pitching for the Netherlands? Confirm or deny?
Yes, confirm. I will pitch for the Netherlands. Yes.
What does it mean to put that jersey on? Because you just are so happy that Andrew Jones made it, and you've looked up to guys like Bam Bam. You remember guys like that have played in the big leagues. All the guys that you came up with. What does it mean to put that jersey on for you of your Curacao, but the Netherlands jersey?
I mean, it means a lot. That's how my dreams start. I feel like, it's something for me to say thank you to them that gave me the opportunity, to showcase myself also too in the Baseball Classic in '09. That, makes me become a pitcher that now, this is going to be my 17th season in the big league. So it's definitely that, that's why I wanted to go play for Netherlands one more time. And to just remember where it starts. So especially for Andrew, I know he become a manager also too, and last year when we was playing Atlanta in Atlanta, he came and talked to me, and I told him for sure, yeah, you can count me in. So, yes, that's what I'm doing it for. So it's also a thank you for, to the Netherlands and Curacao for, help me, start my dream also too.
Yeah, I went there last year. Beautiful place, beautiful, beautiful place. Can you deny or confirm that the air conditioning in Anaheim was terrible at Angel Stadium?
Oh my God. Well, I don't know about that. I didn't pay attention, so sometimes I live in my own world. So I don't know if the AC was bad or good. So, but definitely need some help over there. Yeah.
Kenley, we appreciate you so much. You're so close to being in the Hall of Fame, but you're a Hall of Fame person. I've truly been blessed to cover your career for the majority of it. And thanks for taking the time to come on the show today. Tell Gianni and the kids we said hello. We're looking forward to see what you can do in Detroit. We appreciate you very much. Thanks for coming on, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right, Kenley Jansen, the newest member of the Detroit Tigers. Of course, you can check out more on the Tigers with Cody Stavenhagen and Kieran Steckley. Let's bring on our next guest, Dan Hayes, talking, of course, about the Minnesota Twins. A lot going on in that same division of the Detroit Tigers. The newest news today, in case you're just joining us or you missed it, they have decided to mutually part ways with President of Baseball Operations as well as President of Business Operations, Derek Falvey. Dan, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it very much. I know it's a crazy day for you. What do you make, first of all, of the timing of this news, just a couple of weeks out from spring training?
Yeah, that part is surreal. Absolutely. Look, 6 weeks ago, Tom Pohlad took over as the team's new executive chair from his brother, Joe Pohlad. And basically a year and change ago, the Twins had started to explore that sale. So we knew that there was going to be a new owner. I don't know that it was within the own family that it was going to be a new owner, but I honestly think this is something where, Tom Pohlad essentially took over after the winter meetings, and there's that winter break, and this is just something where the two parties, Derek Falvey and Tom Pohlad, realized it was going to be difficult to work together, and they made the choice now. But I mean, just to Tom Pohlad even addressed that and said these are two personalities just thrown together. Derek Falvey kind of referenced the same thing. Both of them spoke on Zoom a little bit ago. I think it speaks to the two of them realizing that it was not going to be working. And I mean, the fact that they're willing to make this decision 2 weeks before spring training speaks volumes, I think, just about where the Twins are trying to head and what maybe the reality of the situation is. Tom Pohlad at Twins Fest last week came out and said, we want to compete this year. And I mean, that's very, he talked about some of the missteps that they've made in the last couple of years and how they've gotten to this point where they've cut payroll. But, it's hard to switch lanes or to turn the ship around so quickly. They gutted their bullpen in July. And I think that things might have, if they knew they wanted to compete like this, maybe things would have been a little different at the trade deadline. It's hard to rebuild a bullpen on the fly when you don't have a lot of money to do so.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there reports when they were looking to sell the team that there was somebody from the Pohlad family that wanted to stay on board as in like a pretty dominant role? And are we kind of seeing that come to fruition now that maybe Tom isn't the greatest to work with for people who have been around the game?
Well, no. Look, in that part, that was Joe Pohlad, who did continue to operate as the executive chair until last month. He had hoped to stay in and be part of a group that really wasn't going to ever happen, because that would have meant that Pohlads would have sold without ceding power. And I don't think that, part of that was he wanted to just oversee the transition. But look, this is definitely an ambitious owner who realizes that the Twins, as they are the last couple of years, have been sort of a train wreck. I mean, it's hard not to look at it and say where they were 27 months ago. They won a playoff game for the first time in 18 playoff games. They won their first playoff series in 21 years at the time. And then since then, they've cut payroll, fired David Popkins, fired Rocco Baldelli, fired Thad Levine, had a number of layoffs inside. Like, this is not the same place it was 27 months ago. And I think when you think about all that stuff, I think Derek Falvey's been wearing a lot as they've endured some of these financial hardships. I mean, we're talking about a team that was making $60 million annually, which was one of the worst TV contracts in baseball. That was at the end of 2023. Since then, they got a reduced contract for a year. They went to MLB TV, which we don't know the numbers on. We just know it's not 60 million. Their finances are in a tough spot. And I think a lot of things have changed, and you could see it on Derek Falvey wearing on him over these last 2 or 3 years. I mean, he took this place. The joke was when he took over that there were 8 employees in baseball ops. He built up research and development. He built up their information systems. Basically, he brought them into the 21st century. And at the time, I mean, there was a ton of money spent on infrastructure. You've seen a lot of that go away. I can't imagine what this is now, is what he envisioned it to be. And I think part of this is just him saying, hey, this is probably the right time, because if we're expected to compete and we don't have all the resources, maybe this was going to happen eventually, and maybe getting out now is the right time.
So I have 2 questions. One, so you're saying that you think this was mutual, or was this more, because you're saying he's getting out at the right time. So that means Falvey wanted out?
Well, I think that he probably had some say. They really started their discussions in the last week or two and got to figure each other out. And I think that owner is saying, let's win, win, win. And the reality is this is a team that Vegas has them, I think, at 71.5 wins right now, the over-under line. You look at some of the projections, they're higher. The Vegas line was kind of stunning to me to see that, because, they're somewhere in the mid-80s, essentially, on the projection, but they don't have a bullpen. The reality that they can turn this around, it's going to be really challenging. They need a lot of young guys to step up and do things. And look, a couple years ago, they were extremely fortunate that Yohan Duran went from starter to elite reliever overnight, but that took a lot of work, where it was like he'd pitch every couple days. And Griffin Jacks looked great the first couple months of his transition, but then he wore down like you'd expect a young starter to do. They're going to need a lot of that to compete immediately. They don't have a bull. They signed Taylor Rogers, which is a nice piece to add for a guy that can come in and be a voice and a leader, but it's not the Taylor Rogers that they signed a couple years ago. They're missing a closer. They're missing multiple setup men. They have young guys who performed really well, I thought, after the trade deadline, and Cole Sands and Cody Funderburk. But I mean, like this, when you're looking to close out games, it's, I don't see this as being more than an 82-win, 83-win team at best. And who knows, maybe it could happen, but you need Royce Lewis to bounce back. You need all these things to happen. And I think when you look about that reality and where things have gone, Derek Falvey knew that if he kind of exited now, it might help save other people's jobs. I mean, he loves the people he's worked with. I got the sense that he felt like he had some agency in leaving now. And the crazy part is that leaving now 2 weeks before the season was the good option. So, I mean, it speaks volumes when you think about it.
The whole thing is a crazy story, but there's one constant, okay? I was there. Listen, the Pohlad family bought them in 84? They win the World Series 87, 91, right? And that was old Carl. And then they went through the 90s, and they were terrible. I was there, 98, 99, 2000. We were absolutely awful. There was 500 people at games in the Metrodome, right? Then we get them back to where they're good. They're relevant. They're really good for a long time. They built Target Field. They say Target Field is, man, we're going to spend money. We're going to do all these great things once we get the stadium, right? Then they go through Target Field, and they go through ups and downs, da-da-da-da-da. And then they win their first playoff series in 2023. Oh, we're cranking the payroll down, okay? The one constant is the Pohlad family. If they're so miserable owning the Minnesota Twins, why don't they just sell the team? Like, they thought the deal was done. Why don't they just go through with it and say, you know what, guys? We made $2 billion off this. We had a good run. We won 2 World Series. Peace out.
AJ, they need you to start a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe to get that money raised. They tried. And, look, when you're $500 million in debt, and initially in March, we reported 430, and that was before the interest payment was added on for last year. And, interest payment, I think, is in the 40 million range. So they were 500 million in debt by October. And a lot of these people looking at the books said, look, there could be a lockout next year. There could be a work stoppage in 2027. The team, it's hard to take this $500 million in debt and see us making money immediately. And when you're asking for, I think they sold the partial sale was at a valuation of 1.75 billion, but that's 1.75 billion where the new owners were expected to take on the debt. It's going to be hard to make money. So I don't think that they took the best deal they could at the time. I think really, and I've written this, it primes them better because they've paid down the bulk of the debt, not all of the debt right now. It primes them to be better once we get through the potential work stoppage, the next round of national TV contracts. It should be much easier to sell in a couple of years. And I think when you're the Pohlads, Tom Pohlad came in and said, "Look, we've tripped all over ourselves these last couple of years. We didn't explain where we were well, and it set us up for a lot of criticism. Fans are upset." He's done a lot of work reaching out to disgruntled former season ticket holders and trying to get them back. And he's doing all he can and he's saying the right things. But when it comes to the reality and how that aligns, I think that he's a new guy trying to make a mark. But the where he wants to be and where they are right now, especially after trading 10 guys, there's a little bit of a gap there. And look, I will say this. Again, I think Derek Falvey saw the exit and knew this was going to be the way for it to be the least ugly as possible. But I mean, just seeing him the last couple of years, you could see the stress on him. He didn't want to fire Rocco Baldelli. I don't think he wanted to make changes after the 2024 season. It's just been an exodus between Thad Levine, Rocco, David Popkins. It's been a lot. I mean, to cut payroll 30 million right after the playoffs in 2023, and it's the kind of the peak of the 21st century for the Twins where they were at the time, and to just go this direction for 27 months, it's been a lot. You could see it on his face at the trade deadline. He did not want to trade 10 guys, but the plan changed, and they were adapting.
Dan, I have a hard time listening to any Major League Baseball ownership group cry poor. I doubt that very seriously. When you have a $1.5 billion offer on the table and seemingly turn it down, how are they in debt? Is it just bad business decisions? Are they just biting off more than they can chew? How does a team that can sell for $1.5 billion have so much debt that they feel that that's not an offer they can take?
I think part of it was timing. Look, you're talking about a team that was coming off its most successful season in a long time in 2019. They had drawn 2.3 million fans. They won the division. They set the major league record for home runs. I mean, just wrap your head around that the Twins, the light-hitting Twins, hit 307 home runs. The Bomba Squad was popular. They added Josh Donaldson. COVID hits. They're expecting 2.5 to 2.6 million fans to come through the turnstiles that year. They get no fans. And I know that everybody got, they basically were, the salaries were reduced and baseball did its part, but they kept every employee. They paid their minor leaguers. They did a bunch of things. And that started a drain. And it's about, they've said that the bulk of their debt, and I would believe that somewhere between 50 and 60% of the 500 million came from 2020 on. You lose the TV revenue. They have not resonated with fans whatsoever. They were spending payroll at an all-time record high. They brought in Carlos Correa. That payroll was 161 million in 2023. They didn't draw 2 million fans, even though they won the division. The next year, they didn't draw 2 million fans. And you throw that in with the loss of TV revenue, and the fact that interest payment started to balloon, and the last couple of years being in excess of $40 million. That's what they've contended. Obviously, we can't see baseball's books, but I know the Washington Nationals were in a similar position coming off the World Series, expecting to cash in 2020, and that's poor timing for the Twins because they've never, at that point, they had just signed Josh Donaldson. They were ramping up and looking to compete and sell it to fans and have back-to-back playoff years, and they did have back-to-back playoff years, but it was the COVID shortened season. And in 21, they were a mess. 22, they brought in Correa, still was a mess. It's been an ugly time, and fans have just stayed away.
Before my last question for you, Dan, does this make it less or more likely that Joe Ryan is moved?
No, that's the thing that Tom Pohlad did stress when we saw him last Friday at Twins Fest. He flew to see Byron Buxton. He flew to see Joe Ryan. He knew Pablo Lopez was coming to Twins Fest, but he flew to California, flew to Georgia for lunch with those players just to reach out and stress how important they were to the culture of things and where the Twins are headed. So at least for now, I see those guys being on board. But if this team falls apart out of the gate, if this team is terrible in July, and Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez each have a year and a half left on those contracts, all bets are off.
All right. One last person that wasn't brought up. We talked about players, front office, the fans that have been getting calls. Derek Shelton. Derek Shelton comes in under current GM, and now it's a new role. Where does this make him stand in the sense that, yeah, he's gonna coach this team, he's gonna manage this team, but is this what he signed up for? Because if it isn't, then it's like, crap, maybe I could have taken a different team or a different job.
I mean, it's definitely, you got to be wondering what's going through his head as of right now, just because, he has said last week that the continuity of message was the same between Joe Pohlad and Tom Pohlad. But Derek Falvey was in the picture at that point, and now he's not. Now, Jeremy Zoll has been Derek Falvey's, right hand for the last couple of years and had really taken over on the day-to-day baseball operations. Derek Falvey was more the view from 10,000 feet guy with the final approval and stuff. But I mean, Derek Falvey was certainly, Jeremy Zoll was certainly taking some of the reins. So there is still that continuity, but I mean, it's definitely something where you have to wonder. It's just natural to wonder when the guy that hired you and the guy that you were very psyched to work with is out. And certainly it's a question that needs to be answered. The thing is this will all boil down to wins and losses. And they do believe, and even Derek Falvey talked about this at length today, they believe in the young group of players they have here. They think that there's a pipeline of talent coming and that there's more on the way. I mean, this is a team that picks third in the draft coming up this year. So, all that said, if they can win, a lot of this stuff gets solved. But we've seen the Twins struggle to do that the last couple of years. And now, they're doing it with a new leader. So it's certainly uncertain times.
Dan, apparently, while Derek Falvey was doing his press conference, it looks like the GM of the Vikings was also fired. I guess they're friends. They've known each other for 20 years. They've been, exchanging texts and conversations and things for a couple of decades. What's going on? If I tell you, it's a tough time to be a front office person in Mini right now.
Yeah, it's a tough time to be in Minnesota right now, I think, in general. It's just been weird. And, Kwesi and one of the reporters came on and asked Derek about Kwesi getting fired. And, he's shocked because Kwesi had sent Derek a note this morning just of support. So it's definitely a weird day. And it's just a strange time for sure.
Yeah. Dan, we appreciate all the insight. I know today was a crazy day for you. Thank you for taking the time to, be with us on Foul Territory. You can check out more of his work, of course, on The Athletic. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We are close to 300,000 subscribers. So let's try to hit that number before the season starts. Dan, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. It's insane, guys. I tell you what, everything that's going on in Minnesota. And I wish I would have asked him. I had forgotten just what he thought that Derek Falvey's legacy was or his tenure there in Minnesota. Because AJ, you and Erik and I were talking about it at the top of the show before we welcomed Dan in, that he should go down as a front office person that did a lot of good for the Twins. Am I right in saying that?
He definitely tried. He tried. He did the best he could with what he was dealt. And he got him to the playoffs. He won a playoff series. He tried. That's all you can say.
That's what everybody wants. That's what players want. That's what fans want. And sometimes ownership says they want it, and they did it with getting Donaldson. They did it with getting Correa. I forgot that they had gotten Donaldson. They had built something, and whatever it was made them pull back from that. And as a player, it's mind-boggling because we put so much time into things. It's mind-boggling to fans because they sit down every night at 7:00 to watch a game, and they put their time, they put their money into it, And when it's not reciprocated from the people that own the team, it is hard to wrap your head around. And I feel bad for Minnesota fans, people that are living in Minnesota. It's freaking freezing. You lost some mainstays in your Vikings team and in your Twins team.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on in Minnesota right now. The great list of guests continue here on Foul Territory on this Friday. We want to welcome in Ryan O'Hearn. We are pulling back the curtain there now, a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Ryan, great to be with you. I see the helmet behind you, man, a Packers fan. That's tough this year. I'm a Broncos fan. Let's not get me started on that. Good to be with you. Happy that you're with us here on Foul Territory. What are you most excited about as being a part of the Pirates? I saw that you said raise the Jolly Roger. What are you looking forward to?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. That was a cool intro right there. That's new. Things are good. Packers, at least, I mean, they kind of fell apart at the end, but they always seem to be in it most of the season. So it keeps me entertained all off season, and then just that big letdown. But I'm excited. The Pirates are, I think a sneaky good team, and they've made some moves this off season. And, I don't know what they got coming next, if they're going to do anything else, but it seems to be a good group, and everybody I've talked to has been great. I'm looking forward to getting out of Bradenton.
Before we dig into baseball, bear down, okay? I was at that game.
Oh, save it, dude.
Suck, okay, they
save
suck.
it.
That's it. That's all we're done saying.
Year.
Yeah, well, they got him in the right year, okay? They beat him twice at the end of the year, and that's all that matters. That's all that anybody remembers is the Bears knocked the Packers out of the playoffs again.
That's the only thing that matters to you.
The Packers wouldn't even make the playoffs. So
see, Packer fans look so much further than our two games against the Bears. Like it's like whatever, it's another game. For you guys, it's like if you lose, it's the end of the world. If you win, you're gonna have this great celebration. F the other head coach, like whatever. Don't get me started on that. My sister's married to a Bear fan, so I got to hear about it all the time.
So he's the smart one in the family. That makes sense. How excited are you for the Packers to finish 9-6 and 9-7 and 9-7 again last year and get the 7th seed and lose in the first round? No, just kidding, because we know that's going to happen. The Bears are going to win the division again. It's fine. We get it.
Yeah, but at least they'll be in the playoffs. The Bears may or may not make the playoffs. Like they make it once a decade.
Anyways, I'm a Seahawks fan now.
Me too. For this Super Bowl, I'd love to see the Seahawks win.
Anyways, we had a whole thing on it yesterday, because we had Adam Jude from Seattle on. So, how honestly, you said you're excited to get to Bradenton. What was it about the Pirates that made you want to go there? Because for so long, it has not been a destination for veteran guys like you looking to win. So, what's changed about the Pirates when they called you? Ben Cherington calls your agent and says, "We want you to come to Pittsburgh," and you said, "Yes, sir."
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. The Pirates they won 71 games last year. They didn't, they haven't been very good. But if you look at the team, like there is a lot of good players. And starting with the Cy Young winner, you know what I mean? Like that's a big deal. And then on top of that, they have good arms behind them. I think, at the top of my list was like, I want to join a team that really wants me and thinks that I can be like their guy in the middle of the lineup, and then on top of that, a team that could pitch well. So like I'm looking at my options, and then I'm like really looking at this Pirates roster. They had good pitching stats last year for a team that took last place in the NL Central. So it's like, okay, maybe they need some offense, and I could be that guy. And then the trade happens. They add Brandon Lau, a hitter who I've admired for a while, seen him a lot in the AL East. And so I'm like, all right. And then, Ben's been great. We really good communication with him. And he made it clear to me that like, hey, we're not done. We're still moving we're trying to make this team better. And you know what, AJ, I bought in, and I'm fully bought in, and I'm excited to be a Pirate. And I think we're going to go out and surprise some people.
You're supposed to be bought in. That's awesome. Like anybody that says,
you were a Pirate, right?
I wasn't. That was my original team that I got called up. I got called up with all the really good players that started that run. McCutchen, Pedro Alvarez, Garrett Jones, Jamison Tyone was later than that. But like, Garrett Cole a little bit after that. So yeah, I was there. The fans are amazing, but the history when Ryan O'Hearn says I had the largest free agent contract in the history of the Pirates, did you have to take aback a little bit when your agent called and said, "You'll never believe it, but the Pirates are really in. Like they might be one of the top 3 here," because it just hasn't happened. It just hasn't happened. You've been in the game, you watched the game. Were you a little taken aback before you started really talking to Ben Cherington and hearing what their plan and vision was?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, like you said, I didn't even remember the last multi-year contract given to a free agent of the Pirates. I was like, I mean, I know they got O'Neal Cruz. I know they got Brian Reynolds. I know they got Paul Skeens. And, I'm like going down the list and I'm like, these are all like homegrown guys. I couldn't remember the last time that they went out and got like and I'm not a big free agent by any means. I don't want to say like I'm just like massive free agent because I wasn't, but I had a few options. It wasn't like that was my only option. I think I was in that price range of like, hey, maybe I could, a good amount of teams could come after me. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised. And then, like you said, like initially maybe my reaction wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like this is a playoff team and like this is, it took some digging, I think, into the team to realize like they're not as far away as maybe the perception is. And then, like I said, the Lau trade, like that was a big deal for me. That definitely moved the needle. Talking to Ben Cherington, and he was, pretty like straightforward, like, hey, we're not done. We want to get better. And, as you guys know, like you'd love to hear that as a player, like you want to join a team that wants to continue to add and make the team good. Like I want to be competitive. I want to get a chance to win. I'm getting older. I don't know how many years of this I have to go. So I want to be on a team that's got a shot. And I think it'd be really fun if I could, myself and Brandon Lau could come to a team that maybe needs some offense, that already had some good pitchers, and, we could make something special happen.
All right.
This is a lot of talking, but like we got to go play the games. So like, I've been hyping the Pirates all offseason and I love it. But every time I do it, I get off and I go, yeah, all right, we got to go play the games now. Like that's.
Yeah, but they've done things. They've done things. Every year we're like, golly, if you can build a team around Paul Skeens. I mean, look at what the Tigers did. I'm not saying the guys on the Tigers aren't good. I'm saying with Tarek Skubal, they've built a team around Tarek Skubal, and they don't have elite superstars. They don't have, the craziest dudes that are out there. They have good players, but you can build a team around a pitcher like Paul Skeens. So they have done that. But we are friends here. You need to tell us what the other teams were that were on you. What were the options, and how does that go? Because I asked everybody.
I don't know what the protocol is on that. I feel like that's I can't say. I feel like that's like why I don't know why it's like that, but it's like that. Like I can't sit here and be like, well, yeah, this team offered me this, this team offered me that. I know you would love to know. Maybe I'll tell you off camera.
Okay. Text me. That's fine. I won't tell anybody because it's some like great dark secret. To me, I think that grows the game. Obviously, I'm not going to go on a soapbox, but I think it's like, oh, crap. Like Team X is a fan that they're watching and they're like, oh, we almost have Ryan O'Hearn. And then when Ryan O'Hearn makes the All-Star team halfway through the year, would have loved to have that left-handed bat in our lineup. And it kind of creates some intrigue and it makes your team look like they're trying.
I get it. I don't want to be the first guy to be like breaking news. These
That's
teams
fine.
offered me.
I'm not mad.
Don't be mad.
He's always trying to get dudes in trouble all the time. That's Erik Kratz.
No. I know it. Both of them, both AJ and Kratz. They both do the same stuff.
I will not do that to you. What do you prefer? First base, outfield, DH. You're one of those guys that can bring several gloves to the field. You're versatile. People love that. Pencil you in because you constantly post. But if you had to choose something that you really enjoy playing, what is it?
I like playing first. Yeah, I've always liked playing first. I think it's a position I've like the best at. I'm not like I can go out there and play right field if need be, but I would definitely prefer to play first base. And then you sprinkle in like a day game DH every now and then. I'm not mad at it. But
yeah, get you off your feet a little bit. That's fine.
Yeah, there's nothing better than a spa day before a day game DH.
Wow. Spoken like a true superstar. Look at me. I got a 2-year deal. Throw me some
Come on,
DHs. I get
Come
it.
on.
I get it.
Hey.
There's a
Hey.
lot going on around in Pittsburgh. You were just at the Fan Fest, correct? You're at Pirate Fest?
No, I didn't make it because we had a
didn't make it.
snowstorm in Dallas. I couldn't get out. Yeah.
Okay. So you didn't make it, but there's a lot of talk about the fact that Kutch isn't signed back yet. From the guys that you've talked about, because you said, oh, there's a bunch of really good dudes that are up there that are in Pittsburgh. Like, what have you heard as far as like, hey, we really love, as players, we'd really love to have Kutch back because he did this, or you watching him from afar, a guy that's a former MVP, like watching him and what he could add to a team, even if it's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is like, as it stands right now, I'm the oldest guy on the team, and I hate that. Like, I think, and I'm not that old. So, I mean, I think there's something to be said for adding, veteran guys. Also, like, Andrew McCutchen is like, he should have a retired number in the stadium. So, like, a guy like that, obviously commands the respect of guys in the clubhouse. The fans love him, things like that. So, I mean, I'm not the GM. I'm not going to, be like, we need to sign this guy, or we need to not, like, that's not my job. But I will say, I would love to play with Kutch. And, like, I got a lot of, obviously got a ton of respect for him. And I've watched him, forever, going back as a Pirate, and then, I feel like it's weird to see him in any other jersey, but yeah, no, I would love to play with Kutch. I would love to play. I love to play with any guy who's like that level of established. Obviously, you want to play with players that you grew up admiring.
That leads me into my next question. Who, I feel like I know the answer, but maybe you'll have a creative answer. Who do you want to see consistently for 162 games? And I get it, Skeens doesn't play 162 if you make it Skeens. But I think there's some guys on other teams that you're like, golly, like that dude on this roster, like I wonder what he really looks like day in and day out. You only see him 6 times a year, 3 times a year, whatever.
I mean, I think there's an obvious answer in O'Neal Cruz. Like, who I want to see the guy that hits a ball 125 miles an hour up close. I want to see what that looks like, and like just on a day-to-day, what does his cage routine look like? I know he's got an absolute hose. I want to see him throw the ball from center field. So that's one. And I mean, that's pretty obvious. I'm not a huge like prospect guy. I love the prospect thing. Like, I've got a chance to play with quite a few number 1 prospects, and it's kind of like, yeah, I'll see you when you get here. Connor Griffin, the stuff that I've seen from this guy, he looks like an absolute freak show. So I think it'll be fun to see him in spring training and just kind of see, what it looks like taking ground balls. I want to see all of it. He's got like tools for days. There was some quote the other day that I saw that was like, he reminds me of a young A-Rod, and he's going to be like Bobby Witt in the show, which is like, it's kind of stresses me out for him because that's such a, adds so much pressure. But I just want to watch him go play, no pressure, nothing like that. Just like see the tools come out, and I'm excited to see him in spring training.
You came from Birdland, but some people would have called it Prospect Land. So you're talking about Jackson. You're talking about Gunnar. You're talking about Adley. You're talking about what do you need to see from Connor Griffin to say that's a little bit different? That's a little bit of Gunnar. That's a little bit of Adley. Like if you could take a snap or a little piece of each of those guys and be like, wow, that would make – because each of those guys has had their moments. But Gunnar's the only one that has like top 3 MVP votes. And it's like this guy, they're talking about him as Mike Trout as a shortstop. What do you need to see from Connor that you're like, okay, I saw some prospects, but this is a real deal?
You know what I want to see is I want to see him come in and just like completely be himself. I don't want to see a guy that like looks like he's trying to like impress somebody or please, coaches or whatever. I want to see a guy who comes in, he knows he's the dude, and he just does it. And he's just him, and it's easy, and that's how it goes. I want to see great at-bats. Obviously, he's got stupid tools. So if there was like one like tangible thing, it's like I'd like to see him like get into an 0-2 count, battle his ass off, and then get a knock. Like put together quality, tough at-bats. But as far as like the whole package, like just come in and be yourself, man. Let it fly. I want to see what it looks like up close. That's a guy I'm really excited for. Did you guys think I was going to answer that? Because you got all these graphics of him ready to go.
Every show we talk about Connor Griffin. We had Jake Mangum on yesterday. Like we're talking, we're chatting.
My prospect knowledge isn't very good, so that's cool to hear. I just know he's like the number one guy.
We've had a lot of Pirates on lately. A lot of Pirates. Pirates.
Yeah,
I love it. We're talking
Ryan,
about the Pirates.
Which current or former teammate of yours has the craziest workout routine, and why is it Tyler O'Neill?
Yeah, he's got biceps for sure. It could definitely be him. He unfortunately he was hurt quite a bit last year, so I don't think I got to see the full show. But that guy's absolutely shredded.
Have you been to the Roberto Clemente Museum in Pittsburgh yet?
No, I need to.
It is a absolute top 5, top 3 thing you have to do on an off day if you have an opportunity. It's just super, super, super cool. And Pittsburgh, let me tell you, is a very underrated city. It is a sneaky, sneaky cool city.
Yeah, I was. I've only played there 3 times, so like that's my excuse for not having been to the museum. But I will go to the museum, I promise. Okay. And I would agree. The city is beautiful. The rivers, the bridges, like it's a cool place, and I'm excited to get out there and kind of get the full experience. I like the division. Like it's a great places to hit in that division. I think PNC itself is a great place to hit. The idea of like hitting a ball into the river is really fun. I never hit a ball in Utah Street, unfortunately, and that's going to bother me. So I got to get one in the river.
By the way, French fries belong on sandwiches or on the side?
Yeah, what's the deal with that? That's just like
I'm asking you, do they belong on the sandwich or do they belong on the side? Are they
Oh man, I'm gonna make the people of Pittsburgh mad, I think, but they belong on the side. What are we doing?
Listen, you made the rest of the world mad by being a Packers fan. So we might as well add Pittsburgh to the list too while you're
I'm not gonna apologize. By the way, I did a Zoom call on the Pirates Fest and for like in front of a crowd, they put me up and I was getting like booed for this right here.
Yeah.
It's not moving. It's going to be there. I could scoot over a little bit, but it's not moving.
Don't. Just like you said, Connor needs to be himself. You be yourself, and tell them when they start booing. Tell them when they start booing. Be like, I signed a 2-year deal. You're going to deal with my ugly face for 2 years.
You got to deal with this mug for 2 years. There's no doubt. And also, Aaron Rodgers signed that helmet, so that's got to count for something.
They might boo you more now. They might boo you more now. You say that?
Well, I thought he was open. They were open to having him back.
All right. Good luck to you. We're excited for your new adventure in the Steel City. Appreciate you taking the time. Anytime we can have athletes on, current athletes, not these two, but anytime we can have current athletes on, we appreciate it very much. Good luck to you, and we will chat with you soon.
All right. Always enjoy coming on. Thanks, guys. I'll see you down in spring training.
St. Patrick's Day. I'll be there at St. Patrick's Day.
Ooh, green hats.
Green beer.
Green beer and money. He has a lot of it now. Green money. Thanks, Ryan, for joining us. Don't forget to check out Bucko Territory on the Foul Territory Network. We're going to be right back with Ken Rosenthal and the Inside Scoop. And there he is, the aforementioned Ken Rosenthal, the busiest man in the game. Ken, good to see you. Thanks as always for being here. A couple of questions we wanted to ask you, some topics that we talked about a little bit yesterday on Fair Territory. What is next, my friend, for the Seattle Mariners? And will Eugenio Suarez sign anytime soon?
They are a team that needs a bat. And I believe Adam Jude was on FT yesterday explaining that since the end of the season, they've lost Suarez, they've lost Polanco, and they've re-signed Josh Naylor, but they haven't done anything else really to address their offense. So where would that bat be? Most likely in the infield, it seems to me, but their concern there is blocking some younger players. So this is why they have had such interest in Brendan Donovan, because they feel Brendan Donovan is a guy that they can use in a variety of ways at a variety of positions, and therefore enable some of their younger players the opportunity to establish themselves. That makes a ton of sense, and yet they've been talking about Brendan Donovan with the Cardinals all winter, and yet we have not seen a deal yet.
No, Brendan Donovan might never get traded. He might be a free agent before he gets traded at the pace this trade's going, Ken. It's been crazy. I've been talking about this guy for 3 months about him getting traded. He's about to be traded, and he's still a Cardinal. So we'll see him in Jupiter in March. So, Brendan, I expect you to come on the show. Thank you. Ken, why do we keep hearing about all these prospects? Like, we don't want to block this guy. We don't want to block that guy. If you can get an established major league player, every team is just so afraid to block a guy that they don't even know. Christian Campbell. I use Christian Campbell. He was not blocked. They signed him to an extension, and he spent most of the year in AAA. And now this year, guess what? They're trying to see if he can even make the roster, even though he's a guaranteed. So why are we so scared to trade away our prospects for guaranteed big leagues?
Well, I don't know about necessarily trading them, or are you talking more about just creating opportunity for them? That's
both. It's just both. It's kind of a both thing,
Okay.
right?
AJ, you're right that an established player is more likely to help you win than a non-established player. But the way teams view this, and I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, the prospects, the young players, are affordable. They're under control for longer than an established guy you might sign for 2 years, and therefore they provide more bang for the buck. The flaw in that theory is when it doesn't work, just as you just mentioned with Christian Campbell. They give him a big contract right after he starts the season, and yet he wasn't ready for the majors. He kind of demonstrated that he wasn't ready for the majors, and who knows, they could have maybe committed that money to a player of a veteran status and waited to see if Christian Campbell actually can be a viable major leaguer. They obviously got the price they wanted in the extension. They signed him, and then it didn't work out. Now, for every Christian Campbell, there's also a Roman Anthony, a top prospect who does work out. And the Mariners have a number of these guys, Cole Young, Colt Emerson, others that are coming. And they have some of the more highly regarded young players in the game today. That's why they don't want to block them. I understand that logic, but they still need one more player at the very least.
The Red Sox are clearly in a win now. You know, don't hoard the prospects mode. But it's a little bit different for the Red Sox. You feel like, and a lot of people feel like, they need to fill a spot in the infield. Whether it is Christian Campbell or not, we doubt it. Are teams looking at the Red Sox pitching, which they have added to this offseason, and then maybe could diminish from to be able to make sure they fill that role that Bregman left?
They definitely want to add an infielder, and probably a right-handed hitting infielder. The preference seems to be second base because they want Marcelo Meyer at third. Now, I've heard in recent days that they are willing to trade one of their lesser pitchers. And by lesser pitcher, not a guy who's a top prospect and not a guy who is Garrett Crochet or Sonny Gray or Johan Oviedo. That crowd, obviously Ranger Suarez fits with that as well. So who are we talking about? Brian Bayo is one. Jordan Hicks is another. Maybe Patrick Sandoval coming off Tommy John surgery would be another in that kind of category. They don't want to trade Peyton Tolley. They don't want to trade Connolly early. I understand that. And if they can get the piece they need for one of the lesser pitchers, or maybe just rearrange it in some fashion, make a couple of deals to get that player, that infielder, more power to them. They need to do that, in my opinion. It's kind of like Seattle. They're missing one piece, and it's an important piece because offensively, they are a little bit challenged right now, at least from an outside perspective. Now, maybe they feel, well, we've got run prevention figured out better with the pitching staff we've assembled. They certainly have a very deep rotation at this point, perhaps even too deep. But you got to score runs too, and that's the area they still need to address.
Coming out of Minnesota, that the Minnesota Twins and Derek Falvey, the president of baseball operations as well as business operations, have mutually agreed to part ways. The timing seems interesting, but I'd like your take on it.
The timing sure was interesting, Alanna. And I know you just had Dan Hayes on, and he, of course, covers that team so well for The Athletic. Derek Falvey, from what I gathered, was frustrated. Frustrated because at the deadline, he was asked by ownership to go even further than he might have gone if just left to his own devices. And as Dan mentioned in the previous segment, I believe, or a couple of segments ago, they tore apart their bullpen, the entire bullpen, even some guys who were under long-term control who were cheap, like the players we were just talking about with AJ. And it left them in a competitively compromised position. So now they have effectively a new ownership structure. Tom Pohlad is now in charge. He wasn't the guy before, it was Jim Pohlad. They've brought in some minority investors. Things are changing there in terms of what ownership sees and what ownership looks like. So Falvey, it seemed to me, just was wary and maybe frustrated and maybe just uncertain about the direction of this team. He is the one who fought to keep this team together over the winter and not trade Joe Ryan, not trade Byron Buxton. Obviously, ownership agreed with that, and that's the way they're going forward. But I don't know how he sees the future, and maybe he doesn't see the future quite the same way that ownership does. That would be my strong guess here. When you have a mutual parting, what else could it be?
Chris Bassett, can you tell us about what his market is starting to shape up like? Because this is a guy that had a bounce back season, and we've seen other guys who have bad seasons right before free agency not get jobs. But now Chris Bassett, and he did really well in the playoffs too. Why is it not materialized, and what are you hearing so far?
Well, the market for starting pitching right now is quite interesting. There are a number of teams still that need to add a starter, and you can see the pitchers right now who are still available. And then beyond Framber Valdez and Zach Gallen, you see that list. Lucas Giolito, Chris Bassett, Zach Littell, they're all on the rung below. So it seems to me they perhaps, and I say perhaps, need Framber Valdez and Zach Gallen to find their spots. And at that point, we would see better definition in the markets for the next tier down. And those are the pitchers I just mentioned. It's Giolito, it's Bassett, it's Zach Littell, Nick Martinez, a couple of others as well. So that seems to be what's going on. And you might ask, well, what are we doing here? It's January 30th. Spring training camps open in 2 weeks, even less in some cases. Why are these pitchers not signed? It seems to me it's pretty obvious. The teams are squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, hoping for these guys to lower their prices, particularly the top two, Valdez and Gallen. And then they'll have still a high supply and still a high demand, but maybe they can get prices closer to what they want.
Ken, as always, we appreciate it. Hardest working man in baseball. Thank you very much. Don't forget to check out Ken's work on The Athletic and, of course, on Fair Territory Mondays and Thursdays. All right, let's take a look at the Rangers' regular season odds, gentlemen. Do we think they will have over or under 83.5 wins? AJ, we'll start with you. What do you think?
Why are these all so hard? Like, why can't we just give me an easy one? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna go
Really?
under.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that they've done enough. I mean, I love DeGrom and Evaldi and Mackenzie Gore at the top of the rotation. Just until they show me they can hit, I'm going under. And it's not, as a former Ranger player, and I love my time in Texas, it pains me to say that. But yeah, I'm going to go under. I think they're a 78 to 81 win team right now.
How much does the division play into your decision?
Well, I think that you have to look at that. I think the Mariners are going to be good again. I think the A's will be better. I think the Angels will be better with another year of some of their young kids. And I think the Astros are still the Astros. So it has to play into it. And they play them in that division a lot. So I just, it pains me to say, I think it's going to be under.
Apparently, Jeff Passan reporting that Jacob Wilson just got an extension from the A's, long-term deal there. Erik, you taking the over or the under on the Texas Rangers at 83.5?
going to take the over here. I get it. Evaldi and DeGrom, another a healthy season, making their 29 to 32 starts. Yeah, that's rare, but I just have a hard time believing that this offense is going to continue the way it did. Is the Nimmo addition going to jumpstart this offense? Is the subtraction of Adolis Garcia, how are they going to figure out those home runs? Is the subtraction of Marcus Semien, is the young youth that they're going to inject into the lineup, are they going to do what they did in August and September when they made that little mini run that they were on? I take the over just because I have to answer it, but I don't know. I don't know if they're a playoff team. I said it yesterday with the Brewers. I don't know if they're a playoff team because of how the American League is going to kind of be jumbled at the top. And I think 87 wins is where you got to be to make the playoffs in the American League.
And a new skipper at the helm of the Texas Rangers, of course. Bruce Bochy no longer
there. It's going to be their bullpen. Their bullpen worries me. I'm sorry. It does still worry me. I mean, Chris Martin, okay. Other than that, though, someone's got a phone call. But other than that, who's going to be in their bullpen? I mean, no offense, Alexis Diaz.
Too many question marks.
Yeah, that's why it's tough for me.
Certainly
their
not.
Rotation was good. Their starting rotation is good, and and even looking at their offense, it's still like.
Yeah. Time will tell. Time will tell. A lot can happen between now and the end of the season. Guys, don't forget, BetMGM players will receive a golf odds boost token. To use the token, add any golf wagers to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win your bet that was made with the odds boost token, you will receive extra winnings in unrestricted bonus dollars. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. It is time now, gentlemen. All right, we're slapping hands. Earlier on the show this week, we talked about insurance regarding players not being able to play in the World Baseball Classic, but we looked more into it. We wanted to clarify things just for a hot second. And the main point is, guys, that the World Baseball Classic insurance is for the teams themselves, not the players. So the players under contract are never at risk. It's more of the team not wanting the player to participate in the WBC because they don't have the insurance if the player does in fact get hurt, and then they can't play for their big league club. For example, Clayton Kershaw back in 2023 could not play. Carlos Correa is not going to play for the Astros or for, his team in the WBC, nor is Jose Altuve because of an insurance reason. So I guess you can understand, AJ, from a team perspective, why you wouldn't want some of your star or any player to play in this without having some sort of insurance policy if they get hurt.
Listen, deep down, no team wants their players to play in this thing. Deep down. Like, they will never say that because they can't say that. Because Edwin Diaz, we'll use Edwin Diaz, and he hurt his knee and missed the whole year for the Mets that year, right? God forbid somebody has something like that happen again and it affects the team's season like it did for the Mets that year. So I know these games mean more than playoff games to Scott and Erik, but at the end of the day, they're just exhibition games. Yes, they mean a lot for your country. Yes, they mean a lot to the players. But deep down, the teams will never admit it, but no team really wants any of their players playing in this.
That's fair. I'd agree.
Is it fair to the player, though, to not let a team play or not let a player play? Because, technically, they are your employer. Your employer, I guess, does have the right to say you're not going to play.
Here's my question, Alanna. If, God forbid, again, Carlos Correa goes and plays for Puerto Rico and something happens and he's out for a long time, and the Astros were counting on him, or Altuve, either one, and the Astros are counting on him, and then the Astros don't make the playoffs because Carlos Correa, God forbid, missed the entire season. That's a problem. That's something that the Astros deep down are like, man, I really wish he wouldn't have played, but we didn't tell him no. We should have, but we didn't want to make him angry. It puts everybody in a bad spot. There's no good time to play this. It just puts everybody kind of in a bad spot. And you just pray and hope that nobody gets injured.
I think that's a good point, too. There is no you can't do it at the beginning of the season. You can't do it at the end of the season. The season is it's too long. There isn't a great time to play it. But I do think it is so important, especially if you see the rise in the interest, guys, from Team USA. I mean, some of the superstars are saying, you know what, I'm playing in this. It's important to me now. Probably more important to Team USA now than it has been in WBCs in the past. I mean, it's a tough it's a tough road to hoe there when you want to play for your country.
A lot of them are younger. A lot of them are younger though, Alanna. Also, a lot of them, the USA players are a little bit younger. The Skeens and the position players, it's a little less. You really worry about pitchers, obviously, in arm injuries, but a lot of the US players are on the young. Bobby Witt, So, listen. Let's just hope and pray that nobody gets hurt. Okay, that's it. Let's hope we have unbelievable games like we did last time. Nobody gets hurt, and at the end of this, we say baseball is amazing, like we all know it is. And go USA.
Go USA. All right. Another thing coming out here, breaking news from Jeff Passan of ESPN. Shortstop Jacob Wilson and the Athletics are in agreement on a 7-year, $70 million contract extension. That's a lot of money for the A's. That includes an 8th-year club option, sources telling him. Wilson, 23, finished second in AL Rookie of the Year voting last season, I believe, to Nick Hertz's teammate, right? After hitting .311, .355, .444. What do you think about this, EK?
Great for him. Anytime you can get your money. Anytime you can get your money up front, you look at for me, I also would look at the earning potential for him. 7 years, $70 million. So he's giving up 1 or 2 years of his free agency. But earning potential in the arbitration process is RBIs, how often you spend time on the field, and dingers. And he doesn't necessarily do that. And I don't think he's taking this because I'm afraid of getting hurt. I think they've built something in Sacramento. I was almost going to say Oakland. In Sacramento, where it's like, these guys want to be here. Rooks signed. Soderstrom just signed. Law Dog, Lawrence Butler signed. Like, this means that they are putting those offers out there. I know back in the day they offered Matt Chapman to stay there, and it wasn't enough money, and he made the good decision and he made a lot more money doing it. You can never tell somebody it's not a good deal for you. I mean, Jacob's dad played in the big leagues, so he knows, how finite careers can be, and they can't, you don't always hit 311, and that's actually down from where he was before. But to me, I think it's a great deal. I think it is something that will set obviously him up for life, but it's also giving him certainty over this next 7 years and allows him to go into free agency. I'm sure there's some kind of team option at the end too. So at 30 or 31 years old.
Yeah, 8th-year club option. I remember Yasmani Grandal, guys, one time told me, get as much money as you can when you can get it. You don't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know what's going to happen within the next 7 years. But there's something to be said, AJ, and you certainly know more than I with the length of time you played in the bigs and your contract negotiations. There's something to be said about having that certainty that at least for 7 years, he knows where he's going to be. And I mean, $10 million a year is nothing to shake a stick at.
Yeah. Listen, he got his money. He got money that'll set him up for life. And not everyone's given this opportunity. So it's hard to tell somebody not to take it. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him. You know what? I'm happy for A's fans, and I'm happy for the A's in general. They've signed some of these guys. They have a team that's going to be around for a little while. But I will say this. It also makes you easier to be traded.
Because of the high value.
Because people know exactly how much you're going to make for the rest of your contract. So, yes, as great as it is, and you know that, and let's pat the A's on the back and say, way to go, Sacramento A's and Vegas A's. But at the end of the day, also, you can be traded unless you have full no trade, which I doubt any of these contracts have. It also makes you easier to trade because when you go to a team, you can say, hey, you can have Jacob Wilson. He's got 3 years, 35 left on this contract. That's a steal in today's market. Boom. There you go.
Yeah, well, when he hits free agency, he'll be 30. That's still relatively young. Before we say goodbye and get to Kratz Hatz, I wanted to give a shout out to our girl, Emily Walden. She does a tremendous job. She does a lot of stuff in the Tigers market. She does a lot of minor league stuff. She's a Michigan native. She was in remission from cancer, and unfortunately, the cancer has returned, but she's going to fight this just as fiercely as she did before. But with this type of diagnosis, obviously, it's a lot of time away from work, and she could use our help. And I know that the baseball community has rallied around Emily before. I'm just asking if you can, if you're led to, if you're in the position to do so, please go to her GoFundMe. You can see it there under my X and her X as well. It's on Instagram as well. Just help her out. She does so much for the sport that we all love, and hopefully we can support Emily as well. So if you're led to do it, I appreciate that very much. All right, before we say goodbye, how about Kratz Hatz? What do you got on today, EK?
I mean, for Kenley, maybe producer ladies, for Kenley Jansen, this is a Tigers hat,
and
Kenley
for Emily.
on,
yeah, I love it.
And this is producer ladies, one of her favorite teams.
Yeah, I love it. It's nice. That's a nice hat. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Appreciate you guys very much letting me pinch hit today for Scott Braun. Have a great weekend, everybody. Foul Territory rolls on. We'll be back on Monday. We'll see you then. Take care.